So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We'll continue our training on getting clear about results in income, community, and influence. Tonight, of course, we're focusing on income, and Ben Woodward is going to carry us forward as we look at some concepts in the realm of inviting and presentations of further additional information we might be inviting to. So, Ben, are you ready to take over?
Yes, I am.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna make you co-host, and
okay.
you can just end the recording when it finishes.
Okay, perfect. Sounds good. So, okay, well, welcome everyone. This subject of inviting is something that I believe is often overlooked in its potency and importance as a skill set that we need to develop and practice and fine-tune as business owners. It's interesting, you know, that there are certain invitations that we make in life. We see the gravity and importance of them, and we take our time to prepare. I've got a couple of slides that I'm going to use later on in the class tonight. And as I was looking for a couple of images for inviting to go on my presentation, I was amazed at how many different types of invites there were online that people were preparing for and putting effort into. Invitations to tea parties, invitations to weddings, invitations to birthday baby showers, birthday parties, but invitations on social media, how to do that effectively. And, you know, all sorts of different crazy things that just got bigger and bigger and bigger in scope. And yet it showed just how much commitment people were making, how much time they were investing into preparing to make strong invitations. I want to share start by sharing a brief story of a friend of mine who was dating a girl that he was madly in love with, and he finally plucked up the courage one night to invite her or ask her to marry him. That's the biggest invitation of all, isn't it? Is, will you marry me? And so, yeah, he really thought it through, and he plucked up the courage, and they went on this particular date, and all through the date, he was losing the confidence and the courage to ask. And so he kept on procrastinating and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. Eventually the date finished, and he hadn't invited her or asked her to marry him. So they got out of the car at the end of the date. He walked her up the driveway, and they got to the door, and eventually he's like, it's now or never. I've got to do it now, right? So he musters up as much courage as he can, and he goes, so just before we go, what do you think about the idea of us maybe getting engaged? Right, and that was his invite. What do you think about the idea of us maybe getting engaged? And she goes, sounds like a good idea, right? And he goes, excellent. They parted ways. They said goodbye. She closed the door, and as she walked away, she goes, I think he's going to ask me to marry him soon. Right? And as he walks back to his car, he goes, I don't believe it, I'm engaged. He's excited. I just asked her to marry me, and she said yes. And then later on, he gets back in touch with her and just says, I've just got to work this out, of course. I need to know ring sizes. And she's like, what for? He says, well, because we're getting married. Oh, we are? Oh, great, right? And it was all a complete momentary disaster for him. Why? Because he didn't go through the process properly, effectively, didn't he? We all know when someone's asking you to marry them, it's always, will you marry me? There's something in that statement that actually transfers into this space here in business. And that is learning how to ask great, direct, invitational questions. I'm going to share my screen, and give me 1 second while I do that. Why can't I suddenly find, here we go, share screen. Okay. So I'm going to do a share screen. Can you see that slide all right? Extending invitations, best practices. Okay, so I want to go through some critical things that we need to understand in order to extend excellent invitations. I want to start by identifying a couple of important principles first. Finding, which is the first step in our business building activity, is building our contact list, finding people that we can share our message with, that we can have as potential customers or business partners or what have you, but building our contact list and making those connections, that critical activity should always include invitations. Every finding opportunity that we have, if we're with team members, prospects, customers, referrals, or even if we're in the digital landscape where we're doing some online acquisitions, yeah, the finding experience should always lead to an invitation to take action. There should always be an invitation. If you think about it, how often do people voluntarily make their own commitments? How often do people say, I'd like to join your business? Or, I would like to immediately build my wellness home. In many instances, most of the time, more often than not, they accept the step because we've asked them to do it. Okay, people often wait for that invitation to happen. If it doesn't come forth, it's not going to happen. Second point, be bold. When we're extending invitations, we need to understand that weak invitations will lead to weak commitments. So we want to invite people to make and keep commitments with faith and with conviction. So how do we demonstrate boldness? So here we are. I'm going to stop the share for just a quick second. How do we demonstrate boldness and confidence when we're extending invitations? There's a couple of points to this that I want to highlight now, which are not written down on the page. First of all, good eye-to-eye contact makes a huge difference. When you invite someone to do something, look them in the eye if you're face-to-face. Yeah. If it's an in-person invite, then eye-to-eye contact, confident body language plays a part. So much of what we communicate comes from how we hold ourselves. Have a strong and confident tone of voice. The tone of voice that we use is also saying something, not just the words we say. So being bold and having conviction when we invite people to do something requires confident body language, square your shoulders, stand up straight, face them head on. Yeah, sometimes, I remember someone pointing this out to me a number of years ago, that if you've got a guest in your house and they start pointing themselves towards the door as they're talking, it's because they want to go. Yeah. If they're pointing to someone else in the room, if they position themselves to someone else in the room and then look at you, they're telling you, I want to talk to that person. Yeah. Our body language shouts a lot, doesn't it? So look them in the eye, face them square on, have your shoulders back, your head high, be confident, and use a confident tone of voice as well. So I think those things make a big difference. So I'm going to go back to sharing the screen and we'll jump back into it. So number 3, ask direct questions. An invitation. There are different types of questions. I've got a book on my bookshelf called Spy the Lie, and it's written by CIA agents and former FBI agents that all talk about how to detect deception and how they facilitate helping people to give the complete truth when they're interviewing them, when they're talking to them. And they use this not just in terror or conflict situations or dealing with criminals. They've taken it to the public platform now in businesses and business practice, in schools, to parents is a great one there. But learning how to get the truth is really important. But in the process, they explain that there's like, goodness me, over 30 different types of questions that they have, that they ask. Different types, not different questions, different types of questions. But one of these specific questions is a direct will you question. If we're extending an invitation, we want to ask them a question that starts with will you. This means that it can lead to one of 2 answers, yes or no. If we don't ask a direct will you question, we won't get a direct answer or a clear commitment. So we want to make sure that we're asking questions that are starting, when it comes to invites, with a direct will you question. Will you meet with my business partner and I? Okay, so if you're going to invite them to an ABC, ask that question directly. Will you meet with my business partner and I? And then give the specific details around when or where. Will you watch this video over the next couple of days? Will you come with me to this virtual event? You see how clear, and the will you question itself is in fact an expression of confidence, isn't it? because it is direct. A direct, clear, concise question demonstrates confidence as well. My friend's example of inviting or asking his future wife to marry him was not a direct will you question. It was not clear, it was not concise, it was murky at best, and it left them both thinking different things when they got to the end. So you want to make sure that you're very clear. This last point is really important. Promise benefits. People need a reason to change. If you're inviting them to step out of their comfort zone into a space where they're now being a business owner versus an employee, or if they're trying new products that they haven't tried before and investing financially in that commitment, they're going to want to know that there are some specific benefits as to why they should say yes. So every invitation should include a promised benefit. So again, this requires us to be a little prepared, doesn't it, when it comes to extending invitations. It isn't something that we go into willy-nilly or haphazardly or ill-prepared. This is something that we do take time to sit down and plan out. If I'm going to meet with this person today or I'm looking for these opportunities, if I'm in this particular situation, what invitations would be relevant to extend? Have 2 or 3 lined up in advance that you can be prepared to extend so that when the situation comes, you're prepared. What does that invitation look like? How are you going to express it? Write it down, rehearse it, practice it. Yeah. Remember the body language that we talked about, the good eye-to-eye contact, but be simple, clear, and direct. And then what would be the associated benefits from participating or keeping this commitment that's going to help them and motivate them to say yes? Because sometimes people might go, I'll think about it. I'll try. Yeah. And what's going to shift them from a I'll try to absolutely I'll do this? We want confident yeses, don't we? So I have found that the biggest stress that I often face in my business is when someone's accepted an invitation, but I don't know how they're getting on. Yeah, if there is a space and time there, and I'm going to address how to eliminate that fear or that worry or that angst in this aspect of our business building. If we don't know how they're getting on, if they're enjoying the experience of their commitment that they're keeping, if they're keeping it or not, maybe I've not gone through that process thoroughly myself. And that brings me to the last point. So just by way of reminder, we've talked about being bold. We've talked about doing that with, expressing the invitation with confidence, being direct, being clear, being specific. We've also talked about, of course, promising blessings or benefits or rewards, asking direct questions, and recognizing that whenever we're in a finding situation, and we should always be in a finding situation, I think, when we're out and about, we should always be finding, looking, seeing the opportunities that are around us every day because they're always there, being prepared to turn that into an invitation, to take action, to do something, okay? So I want to share the last step in the process that is one of the most important steps. And before I do, I'll give you context to why this is so important. A number of years ago, I moved over to the UK back in my 20s, and I moved in with my brother. And when I was visiting with my brother, he had, for different reasons, he had stopped attending the church that we go to, and I'd kind of gotten talking to him about it and asking him, what his spiritual feelings were and all that type of thing. And we started to have some really good, healthy discussions. After a while, he said, he would be open to re-engaging, learning again, and kind of getting back into the game spiritually and taking some positive steps towards exercising his faith in this context and this framework. So we started having some formal lessons, some kind of reconnect him here in between Sunday meetings. On the first visit that he had with the missionaries that came over, they gave a lesson, they extended an invitation to read. They gave him something to do. They taught, and then they exercised a great principle. They invited him to take some action. Here's a book, read some of it. They gave him some passages to read. They went away, they set up a return appointment. All very well, this is great. When they came back, something dreadful happened. They came back in, we started having the meeting, and I was sat there and I was really excited by this. This is some great steps my brother's taken, but I could feel the energy in the room going like this throughout the course of the meeting. It was going down and down and down. I was like, What am I feeling here? What's going wrong? Why is he disengaging? He started out so excited. He was enthusiastic. Now it's all changing, but they're teaching well. What's going wrong? As they said goodbye and they left, in one foul movement, he kind of did this as he closed the door. He closed the door behind them and then almost simultaneously threw his hands up in the air and said, "What's the point?" I was like, "I beg your pardon? What just happened? What's going on?" He said, "They asked me in their last visit to read these passages," right? He said, "and for the first time in my life, I did. I read from that book," right? He said, "and I was excited to share with them what I learned and what I felt, but they never asked me. They never asked." What's the principle that I'm teaching? I'll go to my next slide because this is a really important principle. Let me share the slide here. The essential final step in completing this process of extending strong invitations is follow-up. We need to plan to follow up and be specific about our intent and what we're doing right there in the invitation process. And I've deliberately put this point in because I think it's important. Extending an invitation without following up is like beginning a journey without finishing it, or buying a ticket to a concert without going into the theater. Without the completed action, the commitment is hollow. So it's really important that we complete the process, finish the journey. So an essential part of extending a strong, compelling, meaningful invitation, where we want to make sure that someone is really going to keep the commitment, because that's what invitations are all about, right? It's not just about inviting someone to do something, it's wanting to make sure that they will make and keep a commitment. So we want to make sure that that happens. How do we do that? We explain when we're inviting them and they've accepted the invitation that we want to follow up. Why are we doing this? We want to make sure that we let them know. It's not because we don't trust them. It's because we care. It's because we want to know what their experience is. We don't want them to throw their hands up in the air as we walk away and say to themselves, they don't care about me and my experience. That's the total opposite reaction. What we want to have them experience is, these guys really love me. When we are motivated by love and genuine concern for those that we're working with in our business, a lot of this process becomes organic and becomes natural. My natural interest in their experience prompts me to find out, to ask questions, and to really make sure they have a solid experience. So I'm going to want to follow up, explain that, and plan it. Sometimes there is great fear that is put around this process of following up. And sometimes it's because I think this is where we get the no's. This is where we get the not interesteds. This is where we get the concerns that arise. And we go, I don't know what concern they might have. I might not be able to resolve their concern. I don't know what to say or do. How do I respond here? And we panic a little bit. And so we don't follow up. But the best thing we can do if we want to resolve that and remove that fear is explain, because I'm so interested in you and your experience, I'm so excited about you experiencing this particular benefit that we talked about. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know what your experience was. After you've watched the video, would you mind if I gave you a quick call and we talked through it? Now, the benefit of this is, one, it strengthens their resolve in keeping the commitment, as well as giving you a chance to have planned, prepared feedback where you can get their feelings out and get them shared. So in the invitation process, after you've extended the direct will you question and you've promised benefits, maybe you've shared in that process of sharing benefits, a testimonial that relates to what they're doing, plan the follow-up visit, make that happen now. This is how you do it. There are 3 steps. Make sure that they know exactly what to do and when. That's really important. If you're going to follow up with them and find out how their experience was, do they know exactly what's expected of them? One way to find out if they know what's expected of them and they know exactly what to do and when is have them restate the commitment. Yeah, have them say it back to you. How do you do that? So you could say something like, we've gone over a lot of different things today as we've been talking. And I've asked you to do a couple of really important points. Can you remember what those things are? Okay, excellent, fantastic. I'm so glad that you understand it's at 10 o'clock, this meeting. Or, let's write this down. Determine what method of communication is best. If I follow up, what's the best way to reach you and have that follow-up contact? Maybe it's a phone call, maybe it's Zoom, maybe it's a text message, maybe it's a visit, whatever it might be. What method of communication works best for you? I want to respect your time. I know that this is important, so it's important that we have this follow-up. And I really want to find out what your experience is, but I want to do this in a way that respects your time the most. What's the best way to contact you? Yeah. Do it in a way that is best suits them, not in a way that is most convenient to you. Okay. What's the best method for them? So make sure they know exactly what to do and when. Determine what method of communication is best, and ensure they have your contact detail, as well as maybe the details of the commitment written down. So you could say, for example, I'll tell you what I'll do just to make it easy. I'll shoot you a text message with the direct link to the webinar, or with the direct link to the video, and I'll just confirm when we're going to meet up and reconnect on this, because I'm excited to hear your experience. I'll put that down in the text message to you, so you can write it down and forward it up and give that a way of following up with them as well. So strengthen that commitment by writing it down and resending it to them. And then the last step, of course, compliment and encourage. Every step of the way, you want to praise them, encourage them, express confidence in them. Let them know you're going to have a great experience doing this. I'm so excited that you're going to take this step. It means a lot to me because I know how important it can be for you. And I'm excited for what you can experience. But I want you to know that you're going to have a great experience doing this. So again, give them encouragement, give them confidence. And if you get stuck in any step of the way, you just let me know. I'm here to help. I want to make this process as comfortable and as fluid for you as possible. Okay, I think that can make a big difference. So I've done a lot of talking tonight. It's been nonstop here, but I hope this has been helpful in identifying some of the critical steps that we need to go through in extending invitations, and understand critically that the follow-up aspect is an integral part. It's not a separate step. It's an integral part to the invitation process. We extend direct invitations. We give them promises of assurance and confidence of certain benefits they'll experience as they take these steps, to encourage them and to fortify the yes. We make it clear, simple, direct, and then we make sure that they know exactly what's being asked of them and when, by asking some good follow-up questions, and then planning the follow-up visit. Make it clear, let them know why we're doing it, that we love them, we care about them, we're excited to hear their experience. We go through all of that, we make it specific. Make sure they write it down, and if they don't write it down, you can send a text message and shoot it over to them, so they've got it written down somewhere as a good reminder. Yeah, and then if it's something that's going to take a little while, for example, if this is a process where maybe they've had an ABC, maybe you're reading a book, or you're giving them something to read that's lengthy, or a video that they're watching, or a webinar, there's going to be some steps in between where you might just want to have some positive regular contact. Yeah. So look for ways to have some positive regular contact where you're just keeping in touch, because we know that when the emotion is strong, that's the best time to do something. But we also know that emotion is fleeting. Yeah. So in the moment, you might give a great presentation. You might have them in an ABC and they're feeling great power and confidence, and they're going to go out and watch that next video, take that next step. But there's a week in between when you get to follow up with them. Yeah, because that happens sometimes, doesn't it? Sometimes, oh, I'm busy all this week, but I'll get back to you on Saturday. And you're going, oh, so much time in between. Yeah. Don't leave it dead. Don't make that time dead time. Have something in between there where you can just follow up, even if it's just a little message saying, hey, just want you to know I'm thinking of you today, and we're excited about that commitment that we were talking about the other day, about the video that you're going to watch, or whatever it is that we've asked you to do. We're really excited about this. Just want you to know I'm looking forward to our next catch up, and really excited to see what's going to come from this. Give them some reason just to have that contact, that reassurance, that little reminder. It makes a big difference. So if there is a space in between the first contact and the next, where there is a little bit of time, we don't want to make that dead time. Have some way to contact them, to reach out, to follow up, to engage, and just help them feel that love, that encouragement, that support, that confidence. That can make all the difference. So we've covered a lot. I've seen some people taking some notes. I hope this has been helpful. I'll send my slides over to Jeff so that he can share them out afterwards if you want to get the notes or the slides to use yourself. But I want to give you my own promise here that when we extend invitations this way and when we prepare, an important part of this whole process is preparation, isn't it? It's taking the time to prepare this step because it's so important. I want to go back to that first point. When I was looking for pictures for these slides, the amount of images I saw on Google for invitations of every kind, digital invitations, printed invitations, different events and different activities that people would connect with and invite to, it just showed me when it matters a lot, people prepare. If it doesn't matter a lot, we don't. We shoot from the hip. And what is all this effort worth if we're going to get to the invitation stage and throw it away? We don't want to do that. We want that moment to count. So if there's anything that we want to prepare well, it's that invitation. And remember that the follow-up is an important part of the invitation process. Plan the follow-up in that phase. That relieves am I going to come across too salesy? Am I going to be pushy or manipulative in that? Are they going to think that way? All of that goes out the window. It's all gone because you planned it right there in the invitation stage and you let them know I'm doing this because I care. And I want to know what your experience is. If you've got questions or concerns, I want you to tell me about it so I can help resolve them and deal with them. If you had an exciting moment, I want to know about it and celebrate it with you. If you get stuck in any part of the process, I want to be here to go through it with you and help you. Why? Because I care. Why do I care? Because I love you and because I know that this is so important and can make such a difference to you. Yeah. Oh, great. Follow-up becomes easy now. Yeah. And if in the follow-up process, they throw out a concern that you don't know the answer to, then go, you know what? I'm so grateful that we've got that relationship where you can share so openly your concerns like that. It's so important to me. And I'm grateful that you can do that. I don't actually have the answer to that question, but you know what? I know someone that does. Let me get back to you. That's a great solution. Yeah. And sometimes it's good to do that, even if you know the answer, to let them see in this process, we don't need to know all the answers to be successful in this business. That's a great lesson in itself and a lesson for another day. So I'm going to pass the time back to Jeff since I've seen him at the desk here. I want to say thank you. Prepare, 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 and follow these steps in the invitation process, and you'll have a very positive outcome of that. I give you my confidence and assurance and promise to you. So thank you very much, and back to you, Jeff.
Thank you, Ben. We appreciate your wisdom, many years of wisdom and applied knowledge in this area. I think for sure we want to get the simple actions right. We want to do these things that have such importance, but we all often don't give them the importance they deserve. We want to get them right. And a little bit of thought and a little bit of practice will go a long, long way to making sure that we invite people, that we do it powerfully, and that we do it in a way where it's transparent, it's organic, it works, where it just helps us, it helps them to move forward. So Ben, thank you so much. We will continue next week. Ben, are you going to be back with us next week?
I will, absolutely. I'm loving these classes.
That's great news. So we'll continue next week in going through these steps that move people towards signing up as a customer, signing up as a consultant, and getting ready to be part of our group, whether it's our customer group or whether it's our consultant group, our network, and moving us towards one of our objectives, which is creating a sustainable income month after month, year after year. So Ben, thank you. Thanks everyone for joining us. We'll see you next week.